Hi, everybody. It's Helen McConnell here from purposeprosperityhappiness.com. I want to welcome you to the inaugural interview podcast called Inspiring People, Inspiring You. This is a podcast of ordinary people doing extraordinary things, and I'm really excited to bring this to you. I love to talk to inspiring people. There are so many people out there who are really living great lives. They're doing great things, and not for fame and fortune, but because they're inspired to do it. They give me courage to pursue my dreams, my big dreams. And I know that if other women and men are out there doing extraordinary things with courage and grace, and I can too. And when we get together, inspiring people get together, even more amazing things happen. So I have many, many hopes for this podcast, but one of the main things is to help you all get to know some of the amazing people that I know. And today I am just so delighted to introduce my friend and colleague, Linda Bard. And I am going to let her introduce herself a little bit. I know about her, but I want it to be said correctly. So,
does that mean I have to get my bio out now?
Go ahead and give us a little bit of your bio about hand analysis, because that's part of what we're going to be talking about. So you go ahead, and then I'll step back in when you're done.
Okay. Well, I'm so pleased and honored to be your first guest, Helen. So thank you so much for that. And my name is Linda Bard, and I'm known as the executive muse at my company called Find Your Creative Voice. And I really enjoy bringing my wisdom, my inner knowing that I have really finally claimed. I've been self-employed for 25 plus years as a creative entrepreneur and storyteller. And so for me now, it is about being this intuitive confidant for other soulful and savvy women who are trying to get their message out in the world. So I bring all of my creative experience, all of my inner wisdom, and then a very, very cool modality that I use called scientific hand analysis, because what's here is a blueprint that basically you came into the world with, and I decode it for you, give you that information so that you get the clarity and the permission to go on and be who you are meant to be. And so my mantra is, I help you to see you so you can be you without apology.
Oh, I just love that, Linda. And I have had one of Linda's hand analysis. Well, she analyzed my handprints, and it is amazing. It's so amazing, so helpful. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. It's going to weave into our conversation. So one of the things that I love about Linda is she truly is a woman of wisdom. And there was a phrase you used a minute ago, spiritual muse, is that right?
Well, executive muse.
Executive muse, yeah. Okay, and really a spiritual guide. And you have been that for me on so many occasions when I needed a higher insight than what I was able to get for myself. And then to add the hand analysis to that too, so that you know me in a way that we might not have otherwise known each other. And that just gives so much information.
That is exactly it, because the reality is we come in knowing, but we forget over the course of time because we are living other people's expectations. We're living in other people's movies often. And the things that we're desiring, accomplishing, sometimes get lost from that core place of what it is we truly want. And so by the time we reach 30, 40-ish or so, we've got all of those things that we thought we wanted, we thought we should get or accomplish. And then there comes this place where you begin to go, okay, that's all been fabulous. It's not like I spent my life hating every single second of what I was doing, but there's that place of there's something more.
And would you describe that? For me, it's been a deep knowing, like almost like a remembering something that was always there, but it got clouded out by other people's messages and the culture and all that stuff.
Right, right. Well, it's the kind of thing where when you really tap into your own inner voice, your knowing, your wisdom, there is, of course, we're going to have places where we're questioning ourselves or falling back into old patterns. But when you really live from that place of your authentic voice, it just makes you go forward in a way that is something that you can't explain. You really have to be in that moment.
And can you give listeners just some kind of hint or clue about how do I discover that authentic voice? How do I know to trust it? Is that really what I'm hearing? Can you give any insight, or can we talk about that?
Sure. I mean, all of us are born with an intuitive sense, so to speak. And so it might be a gut feeling. Some people, literally feel things. Some people will hear, and it's not like you're hearing a voice that's going, "Hey, you should be doing this." But it's just this thought that might pop into your head. And sometimes, we just don't trust that. It's like, oh, what does that mean? And that's a bunch of, hooey. And the more and more that you trust those feelings, those thoughts, that's when you get into that place of operating from a position that's right for you, and not being, because if you stop and think about, for example, this analogy of a boat going forward or a car going forward, if it's being constantly bombarded by wind or tumbleweeds or whatever, there's this tendency to kind of slow down and pay attention to everything else that's around you. And when we don't take control of the wheel and keep going forward, we lose our momentum.
Okay, great. And does one have to be 40 or 50 years old before they discover this voice?
Well, sometimes that's as long as it takes. But I'm finding, interestingly enough, in the clients that I work with, that there are more and more who are in their late 30s, early 40s, because they, have been doing things sort of their own way, right? And going out and about, and I mean, they're my daughter turned 30, and so they were raised with very much you can be anything you want, go out and get it, grab it, and whatever. Also, while, honoring their feelings and what it is that they want, but they get swept up in a societal tidal wave of accomplishment, and the media these days is absolutely insane in terms of the amount of messages we get. So they're getting more aware earlier that this isn't exactly what I signed up for, and I'm not going to work the next 20 years for the gold watch or whatever our generation expected to get as the reward.
I got one of those one time.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, and for me, I was 21 when I said, I'm absolutely not working for anybody else ever again. And that was probably pretty, stubborn and whatever, but, and it led to, several stints as a waitress, but I just knew that if I stayed in those types of environments, it would really just make my soul play small. And that was something I didn't want to do.
Before we go any further, in case anyone can hear, there's a slight buzzing in the background. It's your day, and I so apologize. Leaf blowers. So, Linda, why not? Well, we're just going to keep talking.
Okay, sure.
All right, and it'll just be a nice buzz back there.
That's right. It's an ohm. Ohm.
It's an ohm. Let's think of it as an ohm. I wish it were a little bit more of an ohm instead of a whoa, whoa. As you were talking, I was thinking of there are many people I meet who are in their 20s or teens even, and even some little kids who seem really aware of themselves, just they really know who they are, and yet they just don't quite have the wisdom. But if we can encourage them to be who they are throughout their lives, I think we're going to raise a whole new generation that's going to be fantastic. What do you think about that?
Well, I think, the whole thing of indigo children or, kids that are coming in at a much higher consciousness, that is totally true and valid. And that's one of the challenges for parents today is that how do I connect with these kids in a way that is, honoring who they are, but helping them to function in a sort of a box, as it were, that they don't quite fit into. And so one of the things I enjoy doing is reading for kids to help them understand, actually really to help their parents understand exactly what their child's gifts are so that they can support them in ways that help them get through that, K through 12 situation, so that they can get out in the world and do the thing that they're here to be doing. So yeah, with kids, it's always, again, looking at how do we interact with them in ways that we kind of fall back into, do this because I said so kind of stuff. And realizing how we didn't like that when we were kids and our parents did that to us. So always to really ultimately be aware of how you're interacting with your kids. And then when you know what their gifts are, their true gifts that are shown in the hands, you are able to support them, and that relationship blossoms as a result.
So you can do a hand analysis on a child and it will be accurate through their life. There are parts of it that will be accurate. Is that right? Can you just describe that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, so your fingerprints, the modality that I practice is a combination of the ancient wisdom of palmistry, but it also takes into account the modern science of forensics. So your fingerprints, which are unique to you, they're formed at about 16 weeks in utero, and they never change. They're energetic maps of what your soul's agreement is for what you came here to be.
Wow.
And the lines in your hands, the major lines are formed in utero as well, but the rest of the lines change with results to the neural pathways in your brain. So the thoughts that you think show up as lines in your hands, because your hands have some of the most nerve endings. It's the most sensitive part of your body. So those thoughts that travel the neural pathways come all the way down to the hands. And then what shows up is, if you're in a place of confusion, if you're in a place of overthinking, if you're in a place of, living in someone else's movie, that stuff shows up. And you can, when you do that awareness and change your thoughts, those lines change. Those lines disappear, get shorter, fade out. And so to take this information, it's, the child comes in with a life purpose, a life lesson, and then a lens that they view all of the world through. And that information, based on the life prints hand analysis system that I practice, can give you that information.
At an early age. That's great. And I really want to touch on something, because I know that I misunderstood it at first. When you and I first started doing this together, the idea of a life lesson. Now, my personal life lesson is powerlessness. And I thought, when you said that, I thought, at first, for a moment, I thought, oh my God, does that mean I am going to suffer from powerlessness my whole life? And really, it's not really about that. Can you go into that just a little bit?
Sure. So the lesson piece, which we basically signed up to learn more about, and there are 10 major lessons, some, because we have 10 fingers, some can combine, and then there are, if you have all of the same kind of fingerprint, that's sort of a lesson in and of itself. But for the powerless example, it really is, when you look back and having the awareness that, oh, this is what I chose to learn more about in this lifetime. When you look back in a 20/20 hindsight kind of way, you can see places where the universe created situations, circumstances, and ultimately opportunities for you to learn about, oh, here's a place where I was giving away my power.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here was a place where I could have actively, more actively stepped into my power or claimed it. And so once you get in that, mindset of reframing it in that way, then it really becomes, how do I not let myself go down the rabbit hole because, oh my God, the traffic was horrible, the dog ate my homework, and
Yeah.
falling into that, living the powerless piece and just saying, oh, well, that's all there is and there's nothing I can do about it.
Right. That's where I think my mind went when you first said powerlessness. And I thought, oh God, I guess I'm just stuck with this.
Right.
But it's not true at all.
And it isn't. So it's like, oh, now I know when situations like that come up and trigger me feeling a little helpless, a little overwhelmed, a little, these things are not in my control, out of my hands. First we have to look at, okay, well, is it right for me to be in control? Maybe the opportune thing is for me to let go. But now you can ask that question. And you go, no, not letting go is, not the issue. It's claiming my power here.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can make an informed choice that allows you to go forward in a way that feels really good for you.
Right. All right. That's so, that was such a big moment for me to really get that. And to realize, looking back over my life, how many times not only did I give my power away, but when I tried to step into my power and then backed back out quickly because, people won't like this.
Right.
It was just, it created kind of a mixed message and mixed energetic message to other people around me. And now I'm able to stand in my power most of the time. And that doesn't mean power over other people. It just means
Right.
that I'm here, I'm fully present, and this is me.
Yeah, exactly. And the reality is that, it is a dance. I mean, I call it the Goldilocks theory: too much, too little, just right.
Right.
So we're always going to kind of be dancing a little bit one way or the other. It's just that we're not going to be spending, days, months, years in the too much, too little place, right?
It's such a more balanced place to be. It feels so much better.
Yeah, exactly.
That's excellent. So there's so many things that someone could learn from a hand analysis. And let's spend just a moment. Would you tell people how they could get in touch with you if they wanted to have a hand analysis done? And can you do it with people remotely? How does that work?
Sure. So my website is www. I don't even know if anybody says that anymore. World Wide Web. Findyourcreativevoice.com, and then you just click on the tab that says hand analysis. And you can also schedule a soul synergy conversation with me, just for me to hear about where you are perhaps wanting to get more in alignment with your vision and your voice around your messaging. And we can talk about some of the things that, that where you're trying to get out of that stuck place and moving forward. What's also cool about hand analysis is that there's this thing called dialogue disguise. So certain words that you will use when in our conversation will clue me in as to perhaps, oh, that might be a lesson piece that you're bringing up. Oh, that might be a purpose piece that you need to step into more. And so that kind of gives me a little bit of an insight into that. But beyond that, to do your hands, send you basically an ink kit. It's a pre-inked sheet that I get from the forensic people that supply all the police departments around the United States.
Wow.
And I mail it to you with instructions on how to take your prints. And so if you were ever in kindergarten and, did handprint art, it's kind of like that. And then you can either mail them back to me, or oftentimes I will just have people scan them and then send me the PDF, and then I mark up the PDF and scan it and send it back to you. And then we have a reading session that usually runs about 2 hours. And it's just amazing to me because I have clients in Australia and Canada. And so there aren't limitations in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Thanks to technology.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is while there's information that you can get from seeing someone's hand in real time, one of the things I love about doing the ink printing is that it's almost the places that don't print are actually as important, if not more important, than some of the things that do, because the missing places that don't show up also speak to what's going on for you, and so I'm not going to be able to see it. I mean, if you have all of your fingers and all the different digits and zones and this, that, and the other, but when you ink it up and put it on the paper, stuff doesn't show up, and that's the part that is, I think, very key.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And I really want people to get that this is not, I don't want to sound condescending at all. This is real science and spirit. This isn't gypsy hand reading. Is that the right way to say it? Is that okay to say it that way?
No, I mean, well, and one of the things I say is that, I don't own a turban or a crystal ball. And that's why, for me, it really, I love this repeatable database of information. And that was sort of a big, important part of me taking on studying and becoming an advanced hand analyst, because I wanted to have this concrete, repeatable database of information that when I see this, it means this. But because I have so many spiritual markers in my hands, how I deliver that message, how I choose about what to say, and how to say it to someone in that moment, in that reading that we do, that's the spirit part. So it really is a perfect left brain, right brain marriage for me.
It sounds, because of what I do with my tapping, if somebody comes to me with this information in advance, we are just miles ahead of the game, because we've got all the life lessons, and it's just easy to pick all this up, and more healing can happen. And you can offer that kind of healing as well. I'm not the only one who does the healing here. So
no, I mean, it really is an amazing, it just, the thing I love about it is that it's not judgmental. It's not me telling you what you should be doing. I'm literally just the translator. I'm decoding the information in your hand. But the vibration that comes through me in delivering the message, that's the healing part that happens. And I just find that people are much more willing to take in the information and let their guard down, because in fact, sometimes it kind of freaks people out. It's like, how do you know that about me? Because most of them, are people I haven't really met before,
Right.
Or briefly if I've been speaking somewhere or something. And so there's that initial kind of little freak out, but then what I say is it resonates for them, their truth tuning fork inside just is like, holy crap, that is so true. That is so right. And that's the part that I don't have to convince them of anything, because they know it for themselves.
That's beautiful. And so really we have a theme message. I think most you and myself and many other healers and other people that I'm going to be interviewing about: be your authentic, true self. Be true to yourself. It's not, your life purpose isn't about, like, your hand analysis isn't going to tell me that my life purpose is to make a lot of money, probably, right? I mean, it's much deeper than that.
Oh, totally.
Now, if I choose to make a lot of money doing what my life purpose is,
right,
that's totally okay.
Right. Yeah. Well, and interestingly, so, here's a quick little tidbit, but so there's a gift marker that are these, series of small lines that come under the little finger. And it's the gifted healer. And so gift markers are aptitudes, talents that we have to bring forward in the world, but they also carry with them a penalty. And so so the thing about the gifted healer is you have to be using your healing talents and getting paid for them.
Right.
And the challenge is that oftentimes the people who are healers will become the water cooler psychologist, or the mediator for family disputes and all that.
Or just inviting their friends and family over for healing.
Right.
Not getting paid for it.
Exactly. And so when you're not getting paid for it, the penalty side of this marker comes up, and you start to feel disillusioned. You start to have, intimate relationship communication breakdowns. And so again, knowing this, it's like, oh, when I'm starting to feel disillusioned or whatever, it's like, it must mean that I'm not out there getting paid for the amazing work that I can bring forward in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really is just a great roadmap, quote unquote, to help you live your right life. And a lot of the entrepreneurial women that I work with, I mean, one of the things I say to them is, if you are your authentic self in business, you have no competition.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. So I'm certain that everyone listening today will realize how empowering this information can be, whether you're a healer, other type of entrepreneur, whether you have a job in a corporation. This can still be an amazing tool for you. Yeah. So Linda, would you say your website name again?
Sure. It's findyourcreativevoice.com. And just go there and click on the hand analysis tab, and you'll get some more information. And you can also, like I said, schedule a soul synergy conversation with me. And I would love to hear about what your dreams, what your visions are for your future.
This has been so great, Linda. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Linda Bard. And I just want to say thank you so much for being my first podcast interview, and a very dear friend. Namaste to you.
Namaste. Thank you.